Federowicz is an entrepreneur who started Ad Patina, where he hunts, harvests, preserves, hangs, and sells vintage ads of watches and automobiles. So he's part ad surgeon, part Nicolas Cage treasure hunter, part ad salesman, all in one. And while he's not a direct member of the ad agency or client-side society, Nick has appreciated luxury ads for many years now. We talk about what he finds attractive about these ads. We talk about how he turned his passion project into a full-time job where he supports his family off ad hunting and selling. Pretty cool. And his brand is Ad Patina again, and it's flourishing. He does an excellent job showcasing unique ads, enjoys the process behind his work, and getting the right vintage ad into the right person's hands. Now, talking with Nick reminded me that the work we do in this industry could be extraordinary, and great work can and should be preserved and held to a high standard. Not unlike the way Andy Warhol captured the simple beauty in a Campbell's tomato soup can, Nick tells us what campaigns got him hooked very early on. Nick will inspire you that your passion project can take you places. To connect with him, head to our Instagram at enteringad. And if you're looking for a great gift for a father or anyone who admires history and art, head over to adpatina.com. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. Nick Federowicz, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good. It's a big week for us. We have a move to a new house coming up this weekend, so it's a crazier than normal week for the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're moving from Chicago to the suburbs?
Yep. Yeah, we have two small kiddos. Our son Lincoln is 4, and our daughter's 11 months old, Marlo. So we're making the move to the suburbs. Excited.
That's a good move. That's where I'm from. It's where I'm at still, and I'll probably be here for probably a year or two longer till I go to the city, make the opposite move.
Yep.
Yeah. But hey, I'm excited to have you on to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. This is going to be an interesting episode off our usual path, I would say, but then again, still on it. So Nick, go ahead and tell us about who you are and what you're doing for a living now.
Yeah, sure. So I have a business. Still have to pinch myself when I say that. I have to take myself seriously. But it is a business. It's been around for almost 4 years. It's called Ad Patina. And essentially, it is, I find vintage print magazine advertisements that are in magazines and carefully remove them and frame them ultimately for collectors, enthusiasts of watches and automobiles. I do a lot of other products, but those would be the two areas that I emphasize when I'm looking for vintage ads, watches and automobiles.
Amazing. So you're hunting these vintage ads. You're removing them carefully. I don't know how. What does that mean? Do you get just like a pair of scissors, cut it out like clean, or do you cut around the borders?
No, definitely not
Exacto
scissors.
Knife.
No. So I mean, we could talk for an hour about the surgery that goes on because every we don't interact with magazines as much now as we did in the past, but every magazine is constructed differently. Some are put together with staples, some are glued. And so each magazine presents its own challenge to
the condition,
the page. And condition plays a huge part in what I sell, how much it sells for, when it comes time to curating a selection of ads that someone's ultimately going to have framed and be maybe a centerpiece on their wall in their office. You want to make sure that the ads look nice. Right. And again, that's a huge part of what I do is sourcing and making sure that the ads are, pristine and also educating customers what they're getting, because they are paper, and all these magazines are printed in a different quality paper, and so there's lots of variables that you contend with, and that's one of the fun parts of my job, is educating about this new I guess this new product.
Yeah. So I think right away our listeners might be in a little bit of a swirl right now, because usually we have on an agency a guest, somebody that works at an ad agency or marketing agency or a public relations agency, but and then within that there's fields of account strategy, and there's also creatives within that. We have somebody that you though appreciate the ads themselves, and you
Yeah.
are going out there finding ads, selling ads. So it's just a crazy different it's just a different spectrum of a guest that I have. So I'm excited to hear about what you find in ads, what you're looking predominantly in print ads, and what you appreciate about them and these luxury brands.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm not your typical guest. I don't have a formal education or any work experience at all when it comes to advertising. Um, but I do, so I don't work in advertising, but I like to say I work with the ads,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
very much, very closely. So it's more about, I work with the ads through experience. I guess I'm sort of like that person that never went to college but somehow got an in at a firm, and they just learned a job on the fly, and they
Yeah.
proved themselves. And there's certainly examples out there where people, that's their career path, and
Mhm.
it's not typical, but yeah, I'm learning the advertising, how to create an ad, what goes into making an ad, the history of the ads. I'm learning them through actually handling them. And what I like to think I'm doing is, so all these great ads, from the 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s, even the 90s, they, to me, are sort of lost in the pages of magazines. These magazines are sitting in an attic,
Yeah.
on a shelf somewhere, and you've got this work, because basically an ad is, it's somebody's work. It's a copyright. It's great copywriting. It's a team of people, I imagine. And I'm just sort of guessing at this. I don't know
No,
all
you
this
got it.
for a fact, but I can imagine what goes into creating the ad. The copyright, the imagery, the photography, the all that stuff. And this is people's life's work. And I'd like to think that, taking care of them and sort of extracting them and putting them in the hands and on the wall of collectors and enthusiasts who love these products. It's a way to recognize this work, and it's sort of, at this point, it's kind of like the Hall of Fame, right? Like on people's walls,
Mhm.
because we don't need, these ads are not selling a product anymore. If many years ago in the 60s, to sell a Rolex watch, you needed a certain type of advertising, to let somebody know that, hey, if you're a diver, if you're into diving, this is the watch you need because it's waterproof, etc.
Mhm.
Nobody needs that to sell them on a Rolex now, right? It has a very
Right.
established, brand,
Ah, yeah.
um, but the ads, they serve a different purpose. It's so, yeah. I guess that's one way I like to interact with the ads. It's finding these great ads and paying respect to them, and treating them nicely. And they're not created now like the way they used to be.
Yeah. I think we can go a lot of different routes with this, but let's wind it back. No
Mhm.
pun intended.
Yeah.
Let's wind it back to how you got interested in this and how you got started. A little bit of background about yourself. Tell us about how you got into all of this.
Yeah, in the 90s, I was a teenager. So you can do the math how old I am now.
Mhm.
Um, long story short, I had my sights set on, taking my first paycheck and, buying something nice with it. And I didn't want to buy a car or a lot of the typical things teenagers will spend their money on. I wanted to buy something that would last. And I landed on a Rolex watch. That's what I wanted to purchase. And it didn't cost. It cost a lot back then, not as much as it does today. And I, needed to save up. And basically, I didn't know a lot about them. And how I learned about them is through the print advertisements. So the ads, basically back then in the 90s, a Rolex ad would often show, an adventurer, a performer, an athlete, somebody who has accomplished something, and they've got this watch as either the reward or the tool that enabled them to, accomplish a feat.
Yeah.
And so to me, I just sort of put together, this great marketing that Rolex did. Rolex is a marketing machine. It's the brand that I sell the most ads. They're prolific. There's so many Rolex ads.
Yep.
And basically, the ads were effective because, all these testimonials, and I just got sucked in. And it's like, if I'm going to buy something and spend, at the time, it was about $2,000. I'm going to spend $2,000 on a watch. I want it to last the rest of my life. I wasn't.
Do you still have it?
I do. Yeah, I do. I wasn't into collecting back then. And so I was going into this purchases. I'm going to make this one purchase,
Yep.
and I want to make the right purchase, and I want to buy a product that's going to last forever. And the Rolex seemed like that was the watch. Now, it could have been a lot of other great watches, like it could have been an Omega watch, but Rolex advertised so heavily, that's what was in my face.
Yeah.
So advertising, I think, played, if I look at sort of a pie chart and divide up all the different reasons why I got this, that's 50% of the reason why I decided to buy this watch is the advertising sold me. And that's, I think, what we want advertising. I guess that's what, professionals would want advertising to do. So I would take these ads, and at the time, I was not as careful as I am today. I would rip them out of a magazine and I would tape them on my bedroom wall. And, I would see them every day, and it would be a little bit of it would just stay on my mind to like, hey, if I want this, I better, go to work today. Don't call out sick. I better, do good at school. And so it was the first goal I really set that I strived for. And, I ended up getting the watch, and it will be 23 years next month that I've owned it. So,
wow.
So yeah, I've owned it
good
for over
condition. Still running, good condition.
Oh yeah. It lived up to the hype, and it's a fantastic watch.
So that was the first watch in your collection.
Yeah, that was my first Rolex watch.
The most recent one?
I don't buy them as often now. I'm much more into the hunt, and I like to buy watches from original owners. And the thrill of the hunt is a big part of what I enjoy about collecting. And that's also why I got into the ads, is hunting for these ads, because there is no database that tells you where all these ads are. You have to go and find all these ads in all these magazines. And that has been, and it still is to this day, it's like a mega research project, figuring out where a particular ad is. And so that's a huge part of one aspect of the business that I love. And I never get tired of, is hunting for stuff.
Now, my question is, I want to know how you got to your collecting your first ad, and then you realize this could be a business. I think that's an important question. But I also am curious now, today, are you looking for a specific ad for a specific watch and then hunting around for it? Like kind of like searching, or like Dog the Bounty Hunter? Or are you just like stumbling upon what you think is cool or what is interesting, like within different magazine outsources?
It's a little bit of everything. Outlets. So the business has grown, and it's overwhelming how it's like the business has grown, but I'm still like a staff of one. So it's a bit of a challenge, which is great.
Hire anybody, you can hire one of our listeners.
Which is great. But yeah, so in the beginning, and really to this day, I mean, I hunt ads and I buy inventory, essentially ads that I like. In the beginning, it was like I was collecting these ads because the watches are very expensive to collect, and there's so many people looking for them, so much competition looking for the actual watches is so valuable that if it can be a bit, you just can't get. It's hard to be satisfied. So the ads sort of stepped in, and I was able to get the same thrills as collecting watches, finding these ads. And in the beginning, I would find these ads and I would share them with people. And it was just, let's just see if anybody else, thinks they're cool. I have a history with them, like I said, going back to when I was a teenager. but yeah, it just started out really as I would just find stuff that I like, and that still is kind of what it is today. Because I was like, if I try to sell these and nobody wants them, well, I don't want to be stuck with stuff I don't like.
Right. That's a
So
good point.
it's really, I use my eye and my gut in the beginning and for the first few years as I sort of built sort of a following. Um, and that's sort of the fun part because you get to see, how good are you at picking ads? Because there's a lot of ads out there and all ads are not created equal. There's a lot of Rolex ads that are like, there's nothing. I'm just using Rolex as an example.
Hmm.
But car ads, like there are certain car ads that resonate, that are designed really well. They have the right headline, they have the right angle of the car, they have maybe the right color or the right font. There's so much that goes into curating these ads. And I think me being in the watch community for as long as I have been, and being into watches and passionate about the subject matter, I felt like I had a really good sense of what the market would want and would respond to. I just had to try to prove a business concept, and like any business, it took a while, but you keep at it. And at the end of the day, it's a hobby, and it still is sort of a hobby to me. I don't treat the business, a lot of the fundamental parts of the business are I don't treat them any differently than day one. It's
Right.
just finding cool ads, hunting for stuff and showing it to people and seeing who likes it. And ultimately people DM me and email me and things sell. And
Okay. So the fundamentals. Okay,
mhm,
you're fine. You're looking for these great watch ads or
mhm.
luxury car ads. Were any other categories that you specialize in?
Uh, so
Mainly those
mainly
two.
watches and cars. I have, there's a lot of great categories out there. There's really great like travel ads for like vintage airlines,
Sure.
for example. Camera ads. I think there's some really great camera
Yeah.
ads, and they all tie into collector communities, because you got to match them up with the market. Just like
Right.
I guess real advertisers, they need to know their market. Um,
Who's buying these ads that
um,
you sell?
Well, honestly, everybody, from girlfriends and wives, which is really great, to see, a lot of the, spouses, their husband or their significant other, um, they're into something, and it's nice when you see the other partner embrace it and see
Sure.
how excited their partner gets over a watch, and they
And
want
they
to buy
grew up
them.
loving watches too. Maybe their parents love watches. Their grandparents like watches. Like you mentioned before this interview,
Yeah.
there's a nostalgia piece. So your audience, your customers, they're hanging up on the walls like you have in your background here.
Mhm.
It's an art form, maybe because it stems from something young when they were younger or their current passion for the watches.
Yeah, there's a number of reasons people buy ads. Again, it's nostalgia, it's sentimental. They own the watch and they want to have the ad to go with
Yep.
it. It's for historical purposes. They're collectors, and it's reference material they learn from.
Yeah.
It's strictly aesthetic. They just love the way it looks. They could care less about the watch. They would never own it personally, but it's a beautiful ad, and it's undeniable. Or it's
Hmm.
really, I guess it's an advertising campaign that's iconic.
Yeah.
There's just for me it's a nostalgic connection, an aesthetic connection. Those are the two big things for me that like draw my eye to an ad. It's very subjective, when you figure out like what ad do you want to hang in your home.
Hmm.
It's like art essentially. It's like it's
Yeah. What is one ad that you would never give up in your collection?
um yeah, that's I don't have a lot in my personal collection. The customers and they are the ones that you know I want to make them happy, and I love
Yeah.
the hunt. So I would rather sell a great ad, even though if it's really hard to get, and then they just like put that challenge on me to find it again someday.
So I'm a customer, and I said, and am I coming to you when you already have the ad, and and I'm just like coming in and shopping around of your collection, and I'm like, I want this one, or can I come to you and be like, hey Nick, Rolex,
Mhm.
1964, this magazine, that's what I'm looking for. Could you find that for me? Is that your business model, or do you not mess around
So,
like that?
so the business model has changed. In the beginning, I really just I would find stuff that I loved, and I would show people, and I would
Right.
let them know it's available, and
Yeah.
now it has become it shifted. I still do that. I have a website, and you can
Mhm.
go on there, and it's a sort of a gallery of ads, and you reach out to me, and
What's it called? Let them know.
it's just
Yep.
adpatina.com. Um, and people still go to the site today, and they will look on the site and pick ads and message me about them, and then we'll do a transaction. We'll talk about it. But
Mhm.
a lot of it is also sourcing things, because I'll sell out of things really fast, or some
Mhm.
ads are so hard to find it takes months and months or years to find them.
That's
So
what I wanna know about, that
yeah,
that that
yeah. So
the tough ones to find.
yeah, so a lot of there's a lot of patient customers out there, which I'm
Mhm.
really appreciative of, because this is not some these are not reproductions. I don't just like print them out. They don't grow
Right.
on trees. They
Google it maybe and just, like, print it out maybe, like
Yeah, no, they're so it's. I mean, I'm constantly working on framing projects. I either maybe I have everything, but it's just waiting to frame it, or I have to find the ad. People do ask me for specific types of ads that they're on the hunt for, that
okay, so you do a little bit of
know
that
about,
both.
maybe I don't. I'll do some research. I'll do some digging. I'll have one example. I sort of had a very random request for a Rolls Royce ad,
Ooh,
and it was for a Rolls Royce Phantom, a modern ad from like 2000s. It would be from the 2000s, and
okay.
so it's not really in my wheelhouse. It's not a
Right.
watch ad, which I have a lot better
Mhm.
sense of, like, what's possible, what's feasible, what's out there. But with
Mhm.
cars, I'm not a car guy, but I can appreciate cars, and I feel like I have an
Yeah.
opinion on what I like. But this person asked me about a Rolls Royce ad, and I was like, I've never seen it. I'll poke around for it. Um, and it was about 11 months later that I found it, and I messaged him and I said, "Hey, I found the ad." And he was so excited. He's like, "Oh, I thought you forgot about me." And but I keep good notes on who wants what. I every single So you can't go on my website and, like, put something in your cart and check out. Everything is very, like, labor intensive on the customer's part. You have to write me an email, you have to DM me, and we talk. And because it's not about selling the ad. Like, I really want to sell you. I want to, like, share with you my experience with the ad. I want to teach you about, you know, what you're getting in terms of the condition. I want to talk about what year it's from, or, are you getting something that's hard to find? Are you getting something that's more common? Um, this ad is set up for framing. This ad isn't. And so everybody that reaches out to me, we have a conversation. And
These are amazing. These are
I have,
amazing.
all my emails, all my DMs, all my text messages. I have, you know, many customers that I'm working on finding stuff for. Things are so many. I could probably use a project management, like, software app or something. And
Mhm.
but I do everything old school, and I have
I
notebook with notes, and
I'm
and
looking I'm
we get it
looking at
done.
these I'm looking at these at what you have on your site right now, and the Rolex. I went to that because that's the
Mhm.
probably the one brand that I know the most. I think it has the best brand value in my head. And I mean, this is a sheer appreciation of advertising and the watch and the brand. I think everybody that is in creative and in advertising, I think this is our connection point right here, should go through these framed ads and look at the beauty and the layout. And if you can master the concepting, just from advertising speak, the concepting that might go into these ads, that will help you out tremendously. And you can apply that to today. My question for you, real quick, just because I'm curious, do you have a series of maybe of ads of different executions of a same campaign of ads?
Uh, so my understanding, a campaign is kind of like a format that sort of
Mhm.
uh, an agency would run with. So I don't know that there'd be it would vary within that format. Maybe if you
Let me explain.
explain a little more, rephrase
So
it.
let's say
Help myself
they have
out.
the Rolex Explorer 1966 model that I'm looking at the
Uh-huh.
website of adpatina.com/frame ads for sale. Little
Mhm.
plug-in for you. The 1966 Rolex Explorer. I
Mhm.
see a man top of the Matterhorn is the caption,
Yeah.
dimensions 13, whatever. The uh, ad itself is a man with the watch on, black and white,
Mhm.
with is that a rock I see him holding on?
Yes, sort of like the side of a mountain or
Rock climbing, mountain, Matterhorn.
yeah.
Now, an example would be that would be the campaign, the Rolex.
Hmm.
We built the Rolex Explorer because
Hmm.
there isn't any watch repair shop in the top of the Matterhorn. Now, there could be a very similar execution where he's swimming, and it's the same
Hmm.
concept, but there's a different execution of that. Or
Yeah,
it could be doing another activity that's
yeah.
similar within that campaign. Is
So
there any
this is
like
where I've become educated on the ads, and what I'm actually trying to I'm very open to learning about the history of these ads because it's very intriguing to me, especially the old stuff, how it was made. So this campaign is from like 65, 66, and there are a number of watches, different models that are all modeled on like wrists, close-up shots of wrists.
okay,
um, so like this one, his hand is grappling a mountain.
sure,
There's another one where it's advertising a diving watch, and the wrist is draped over a periscope and a submarine.
okay, yes,
And so they use that theme where it's these close-up shots of the wrist.
right,
You know, in 1967, Rolex switched to their most, I think, their most iconic, most famous, well-known campaign. It's the "If You Were." So it's these black background ads with this bold Helvetica, I think it is, the white font, and it says "If you were working, if you were diving, if you were racing,"
okay,
and
yes,
they used that campaign solely through 1970, and it never deviated. Whereas
right,
when you look at ads from the 60s earlier, they're all over the place. The format
mhm,
is like sometimes it's text heavy, sometimes it's a big image, sometimes it's
mhm,
a narrow ad, you know, half a page, a fractional ad. So I've started to develop a sense of, you know, what the client wanted and what the agency maybe was coming up with and presenting, and they agreed
mhm,
on, and then they like, let's do this, and then okay, 1970 comes, let's change it up and let's go with this direction. So I've seen the evolution of the ads
yeah,
through the years, sort of by handling them so much. Um, I think that I know that you do talk to students and or sort of new
yeah,
graduates and people who are
close to graduating, recent grads, yeah,
yeah. So I would be curious. So I think that there's the you know, all the business terminology is not something I'm familiar with, but somebody said to me one day that, you know, I have a proof of concept. Like I came up with this, my business model is working. So
yeah,
something people are these older ads, it's striking a chord. And so I wonder, you know, what people who are in the industry now, especially younger, you know, 20 somethings, what they think of these old ads and what they'd be, are these old ads, you know, shown in in school? Are they, can they pull anything from these old ads to inject into new ads? Because there is something,
yeah,
there's a demand for these ads, and I don't think it's a demand for the product. It's a demand for the look and the feel and the story and the emotion and the art.
you
um,
know, that's a
and so
great
I
question.
wonder if we'll ever see, or if there's any talks in the advertising world about these old ads and what we can learn from them. And is there like a comeback of them potentially?
There, do you know what I'm curious about? Not curious, but so what I think is the new ads for like luxury watches. I want to see if I can pull one out here.
Mhm.
They're kind of lazy. Some of these new, they're like it's just the watch and like a black background.
Yep. Yep.
And these old ads are not that.
Right.
There's layouts, there's concepts that we've talked about. There's some great copy that I'm skimming through while I'm just
Yeah.
looking at these amazing ads.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think there is something to learn.
Yeah.
There's a headline, there's taglines, there's copy. I mean, this is real stuff,
Yeah.
and
I
there's
would,
great concepts.
I do a good amount of business selling modern ads, you know, from the 2000s, but it's more, I would say, people who own the watch and they want it to go with it. It's sometimes it's a great ad, like it just looks really awesome, but
Yeah,
it's more people are connecting with it because they own the watch.
yeah,
Whereas there's so many more ways to connect with a vintage ad than a modern one. Um,
hmm,
you know,
yeah.
there's always outliers. I mean,
What,
there's examples of good modern ads that have good headline or a good image, or they've got the formula just right and they've struck a balance, where they actually put some old imagery into a new ad, and you know, captured the, you know, the history and paid respect to the heritage and all that. I will say, you know, because I do want to, kind of stay a little bit on brand
Yep. Yep.
with your podcast and what your subject matter is. I recently, I did an interview a while back. It was on a website, and uh, it was, just interviewing me about my business, I guess. And someone reached out to me, and it was the person who, I guess I would call them an ad man, but they worked at an agency called Grace and Rothschild. And I don't
Okay.
think that agency's around anymore.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that.
But they worked at Grace and Rothschild in the 90s and early 2000s. And he was on the team that basically created all the Land Rover ads.
Okay.
And so that was my first opportunity to speak to somebody who works in the industry and learn about, how these ads are made and how it works. And he was on the photo shoots, and he would send me all these outtakes. One famous ad is it's a Land Rover with a rhino chasing it. And Range Rover, I think, has some of the best. The prompt that I got, where I talked about Range Rovers, what are the most compelling ads? And I think Land Rover has just really great ads. Their headline and their imagery, it all ties in. It's very witty. It's just really well done. Like, they nail it, like one after the
Love
next.
that.
And
Something.
some of them, they're just great. And this person happened to read the interview, and they reached out and they were like, "Hey, I made some of these ads essentially, and I was there helping make them." And
Nice.
so it blew me away that somebody reached out to me from the industry, and we've had a really good connection, and I interviewed him, so I was able to learn and share with my audience the story behind the ads. So going back to that ad, it's a rhino chasing a Land Rover, and he sent me outtakes where the rhino actually hits the Land Rover and runs into it.
Oh no.
He told me about the rhino's name was Tank, and that there was the handler, the zookeeper kind of person was in the back of the Land Rover, dangling something so the rhino would run. And so it was really cool to learn about how these ads are made. And it was fun for me to share that. So it's really just about showcasing. Goes back to, I guess, what I first said. It's, showcasing this art form that these creative people that have spent their lives coming up with. And, I don't want these to just get lost. And I think that they work perfectly as, an expression of taste and,
Yes.
An art form for a form of art today for people. Nobody's really thought of it this way. I mean, I have not done anything that hasn't been done before. People have framed an ad before, but I'd like to think that the care that I put into it, really,
it's phenomenal.
ads and the work that's been done over the years.
I mean, it's phenomenal. And just like as well, just on top of all that, the appreciation you have for the ads and the knowledge that you have, I think that goes a long way. And I think that maybe more ad students should take that care into what they're passionate about. I think if I never had a hobby like this, and I think if I would have started, I think I'm going to start, capturing some of my more favorite ads or looking into ones I think are interesting.
I mean,
And the fact that you also have been able to make this a business of yours shows that your prowess and your own brand recognition of who you are and what you're good at, and how you show that on your site and in your social media.
I would say that, for me, I've always worked in retail. Like, my whole career has been working in retail and
Where at?
selling products. I worked at Nordstrom for a long time, even before, going back to before e-commerce was a big thing, when you really had customer service and you called people when I worked in a shoe department.
I worked at Nordstrom for 4 years.
And so, for me, I've just always loved products and selling things.
Yes.
And customer service. And so those are skills, I guess, that, they're full force in what I do now. And I love that. But someone like yourself who works, I guess, in advertising, is interested in it, like, you're the perfect person to, like, have an ad on your wall. Like, you obviously love advertising. Like, why wouldn't you want an ad on your wall to just, find something that you love? Maybe you love to drink, like, you have a beverage you like to drink or something, and you just put it on your wall, put it in your kitchen or something. But I mean, so it is a passion, it is a hobby of mine, and it is a business now. But
which is awesome.
And I have to think about it as a business more now than I did in the beginning, because it's grown and there's just there's more numbers and there's more customers and there's more projects and there's more deadlines. But I love, like, every aspect of what I do. We have 2 kids, and they're young and they demand a lot of attention. And I still like after a long day with them, a weekend, like I still sit down and, work 4 or 5 hours every night.
Because you
And
love what you're doing.
yeah, like 7 days a week, I'm, in between playing with them and doing stuff, I'm always, working here and there.
Yeah.
I have, I work, I'm sort of the only, I said earlier that the business is growing, but the staff isn't. It's just me, but obviously I don't do the framing. I work with a framer who's local and he's amazing.
Want to give him a shout out?
His name is Paul.
Shout out to Paul.
And yeah, he puts up with me because I'm very, I'm a perfectionist, and
Sure.
these ads have to be cropped just right, because if you take an ad and then you don't frame it right, you might as well just leave it in the magazine and just never
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
make
That's
the
a good
attempt.
point.
You got to really, it really goes back to like, these ads are beautiful and they're well done, and people connect
They're
with them.
art.
And let's
They're art.
make it awesome.
Awesome. These are art, and I think I recommend everybody go check it out, adpatina.com. And this is a really great website, really well done. You're a professional in itself, and I think everybody should go take the time to go check this out, to appreciate ads. Sometimes we're working with them so much, we kind of get tired of them. It's like if you work at an ice cream shop and you're eating ice cream every day, you might not like that one flavor. Kind of like that when we're working with ads all the time, but
Yeah, I think for me, again, I work in the ads too, so sometimes I have to stop myself, like hold a cup of coffee in the morning,
yep.
look at an ad behind the frame, and absorb myself in it. And especially old ads, look at the ink, look how it's printed, look how it's pressed on the paper, look at the imperfections that are natural, because quality control isn't what it is. And you've got this cool subject matter before you, and you're right, we do move fast and we're looking at things quickly. I think a lot of advertising today, correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably meant to be, very like quick and short and like burst. A lot of these ads, the older ones, they're text heavy and there's information and there's a story to them. These old Rolex ads, there'll be a testimonial story, whether it's true or not. They're paragraphs or they're technical information about a watch.
Yep.
People,
they're selling.
A Rolex ad today, it says the name of the watch and that's it. It doesn't tell you a lot of technical information, because people aren't buying it as a tool. They're buying it as maybe a status symbol, or just as a gift to give to somebody. So the ads really take me back to a simpler time that I'm glad we are where we are. And I've learned a lot. I have this business today because watches are what they are, but it's become a crazy world, the watch collecting world. And so the ads really help me to stay grounded and keep me sort of true to sort of my collecting philosophies and things like that.
Amazing.
And I encourage anybody who's listening, if you know a lot about advertising, or you can, teach me some stuff and connect me with some people, especially, some veterans. I would love to, talk to people about, the actual ads and the creation of them and how they came about. And I share that with my audience, because it gets them more excited about the ads. And then it's kind of like, snowball effect, I guess.
Maybe I'll send some people your way.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, Nick, that is all the time we have, and this has been amazing. So they know your website. Is there any other way you prefer to reach out to? Quickly shout out your social media handle.
It's just at Ad Patina. So
it's great. It's great stuff.
Really
well done.
Yep.
And that's all we got. So we'll have them reach out to you. We'll tell them message, say Breaking and Entering sent you, and I'm sure you'll be happy to connect, right?
Yeah, just be patient with my reply. I try to get back to everybody. It's usually sometimes a late email, wee hours of the morning email, but I do.
That's okay. Well, you got a family. You're a grown man. You got a family. You got stuff.
Yeah, it's cool,
you got real life stuff going on.
Yeah, it's all my customers are very cool, and I'm very appreciative of them working with me for sure.
Cool. All right.
And thank you, Gino, for looking me up and letting me ramble on here about
this has been a great episode. I learned a lot, and I think everybody's going to really appreciate it. So thank you for coming on, and we'll talk soon. We will talk again.
All right, man. I know you live next to me, so hopefully we'll grab a coffee one day soon.
Yeah, we'll talk or a beer or
whatever.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on.
Cool.
Thank you all for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week's guest. Make sure you go and connect with them on LinkedIn. Tell them that Breaking and Entering sent you. Now, thank you to Mikey Malarkey, our audio technician, and Buchan Zhang, our creative director, as well as the student team from the Midnight Oil Agency at the University of Illinois. Can't do it without you all. Thank you very much. We will see you all next week with another amazing guest.